The push to get fentanyl off the streets.
It's considered one of the most dangerous drugs, killing more than 3,000 people last year alone in North Carolina. But one problem, local agencies tell CBS 17 their drug-detecting K-9s are not trained to sniff out fentanyl.
But that may be changing. CBS 17's Maggie Newland is digging deeper tonight, taking us inside the newest training.
We'll make some hides over here.
Inside this Harnett County training facility,
we use masking agents.
Ken Mathias teaches law enforcement canines and handlers to work together to find drugs.
You go to work.
Sergeant Chris Collins and Spike work for the Harnett County Sheriff's Office.
What'd you find?
As Spike searches stacks of boxes, Sergeant Collins looks for the sign that he's found something.
Yes.
In this case, Spike smells fentanyl.
Oh, boy.
The rise of fentanyl overdose deaths is exponential.
And yet many law enforcement canines are not trained to detect it. CBS 17 reached out to more than a dozen law enforcement agencies in central North Carolina, and most that responded say their canines are not specifically trained to detect fentanyl, including the city of Durham, Cary, Garner, Chapel Hill, Orange, Nash, and Edgecombe counties. The Wake County Sheriff's Office says its detention center canines are trained to detect fentanyl, but patrol dogs are not.
Why have a drug dog that does not detect that? It's such a killing agent.
Natalie Beauchesne knows how deadly fentanyl can be.
This is the last picture taken of the two of us.
She says the drug killed her 22-year-old son, Jake.
When he was a little boy, he used to tell me that he wanted to live with me forever. And then he said, well, I'm going to build a house right beside yours. What I wouldn't give to look out any window of my house and to see him.
Since Jake's death, she's connected with others who share similar stories of losing loved ones to fentanyl.
It kills. It is out there to kill. And so many families have been affected by it.
She wants law enforcement to use any means possible to get it off the streets, including training canines to find it.
And I cannot imagine how you would train a dog to sniff out fentanyl because it's so powerful. And I'm sure it's an evolving process, but it needs to happen.
Many law enforcement agencies cite danger to canines and their handlers as the reason their dogs are not trained to detect fentanyl. And fentanyl does affect dogs. In 2016, 3 canines with the Broward County Sheriff's Office in Florida needed emergency vet care due to fentanyl exposure. But Mathias says with safety precautions, canines can learn to detect fentanyl, just like they detect other dangerous drugs.
Our lethal dosage level is much lower than it is for a dog, but we still have a duty to protect our dogs because everything goes through that dog's nose.
The dogs train on all kinds of drugs in varying amounts. In the case of fentanyl, the fentanyl is actually infused in this tube and sealed inside this container. That's for the safety of both the dog and the handler.
You see her focus? Well, her nose is right on the target odor.
Minimizing the risk of exposure is also why the dogs are trained to simply sit when they find what they're looking for.
The natural inclination for a dog is to scratch and dig because that opens up odor. We don't want them doing that on a package loaded with fentanyl. We don't want them doing that on a package loaded with heroin. We don't want them doing that on an explosive.
Yes! In case a canine is exposed, handlers are trained to look for any sign the dog needs emergency care.
Once you put a dog on the end of the leash as part of your job, now you have a lot more responsibility, not just to yourself, but also your partner.
Can dogs get Narcan just like people?
Not only can they get Narcan, every handler is issued Narcan. It's administered to a dog in the same fashion with the nasal cannula as it is to a human.
You ready?
While not all canines are trained to sniff out fentanyl, Mathias says canine teams here in North Carolina are already getting the deadly drug off the streets.
One of the Harnett County dogs did find a little over 2 pounds of fentanyl that was wrapped in peanut butter.
Let's check this way.
Mathias expects more agencies will soon have dogs trained to detect fentanyl.
Many agencies in communities that are experiencing the increase in overdoses due to fentanyl are adding that as a training. The reality is we can't get all of it, but for every amount we get, that may save one life.
Yes.
Maggie Newland, CBS 17 News.